concept plan adoption. And our board also have heard the most of the deputations that have been here today as well on the coastal pathway, and we have recommended that the council adopts the amended coastal pathway concept plan as set out in attachment 2 of the report. And also we would like to request that a list of areas where more detailed design will be consulted on be compiled and publicly available, and that one area that will be included is Beachville Road picnic area, the western end.
Can you just explain the difference between the two positions on Scott Park and why, and which one of the two this supports and why?
The current coastal pathway concept plan has the coastal pathway adjacent to the road along Scott Park. The coastal, that is the position that the Wind Sports Association and the Yacht Club would like it to stay in.
So that's in the original concept plan? No?
That was amended.
That was
an amendment to the original. And the Coastal Pathway Group would like the opportunity to have the pathway through Scott Park discussed in more detail, and to have a highly experienced landscape architect do more work on that to try and find a solution that suits both groups.
So which one does the community board support?
Paul, would you like to talk to that? Yeah.
Paul.
We supported the plan, but and we'd like to actually recommend a slight amendment to our recommendation.
Yep.
We conferred with the other colleagues, and I think it's up there. Let's talk to it. Endorse the concept plan, noting that the adoption of the concept plan does not preclude or constrain the ability to improve through detailed design on the specific areas of Redcliffs Park and Scott Park. That just allows for opportunities that we may not even know about yet that may come about through detailed design. And I've conferred with the both parties who presented today, and they're happy with that amendment.
So, but I have to say that looking at the pictures, it is hard to work out whether the current concept plan is off Scott Park or whether it goes through the middle of Scott Park.
It currently goes along the back of Scott Park.
Right.
So it's adjacent to the road. The point is that this is a high-level concept plan with more detailed work to be done, and at this stage there's a need to get the plan adopted so that can trigger work that can happen in other areas, and there is more detailed work to be done. And I think the Coastal Pathway Group would just like to make sure that one of the areas is Scott Park, that there's more work to be done on.
Right.
So Paul's amendment probably just makes the intent of that a bit more clear.
But this doesn't say that it moves back into the centre of Scott Park.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It just means that more work is to be done.
More work is to be done.
More consultation and more detailed planning.
Okay.
So if we support the original motion,
The original motion, I think would cover it, but so that the parties can be sure that there is more
Scope.
if we support the original motion, we're supporting the community board stance and the yacht club stance.
That's correct.
So, but would the community board have any objection to the amendment?
No.
Okay.
It just clarifies things a bit more.
Okay. Yanni.
The actual board asked that that an list of areas where more detailed design would be consulted on would be compiled and made publicly available. Because this has come as a chair's report, there hasn't been time for that information to come back. But it was always the understanding of the community board that on certain detailed design elements of the pathway, there would be further community engagement and consultation.
Yeah, and that's in the memorandum.
You know, I think this is pretty much in line with where the community board thinking was. It's just being a little bit more explicit based on the concerns that we've heard, to identify that these are two areas in particular that we do think there may be opportunities to come up with a better result.
So are we required to come back to council for a final decision on Scott Park? Or do we leave, or is that a delegated decision now?
So what we heard at the community board is that there's, Scott Park would probably, the overall concept for Scott Park probably wouldn't be built for 3 years. So that actually gives us quite a lot of time to work through. There is some urgency in regards to what Skirt are doing around the three laning of the main road. So the idea that you would approve the concept so you could start to think about what synergies you might get was embraced. But again, Paul's and I've tried to come up with a compromise that tries to recognise that there's potential future opportunities. My understanding, Paul's talked to both the groups, so he might like to just reflect on their feedback.
Paul?
I think everybody recognises that we've seen an original concept plan which it caused a number of issues for the windsurfing club and the yacht club. We've seen another design which is actually taking away some of the potential, lost potential for a really outstanding coastal pathway through that initial gateway. There may be opportunities that we don't know yet that through a detailed design of that park could come up with, and we just don't want to lose that opportunity by locking it down where we can't actually sort of make any changes. So this amendment allows, through the detailed design, with both parties agreeing that it's, they would agree that this is the best way forward. Look, it may end up in the same spot, but it may not. And I think we just need to recognise that when you come and do detailed designs, things can change and you can find opportunities that can really make this an outstanding sort of pathway for Christchurch.
Okay. So, well, should we deal with the amendment first then? So that the amendments obviously, or should we just, no, we just deal with it as a total one because we've got Councillor Lonsdale, Councillor Johansson moving and seconding the whole motion. Is there any further discussion on that? One question, yeah.
Thank you, Nick. I'm concerned if today we adopt this amendment, the coast past the concept design, because we received the group the submission. For instance, like the Scott Park, that's kind of different concept. One is preferred to along the road. The other one is as possible, near the beach, etc. That's a different concept design. If we adopt whether the submitter still have opportunity, to make their submission, express their concern in the particular concern.
Vicky?
I'm totally fine with the what's up here because it seems to me that what's underway in the coastal pathway, the key thing is getting it going. Yeah. This is a stunning project.
Yeah, I know, it's fantastic.
Fantastic that the Memorandum of Understanding has been signed. This is awesome. There will always be places with some differences of opinion, and I think this allows for those to be sorted out without standing in the way of actually getting this coastal pathway rolled out, sorted, and really just becoming an amazing asset for the city. So I'm totally fine with the motion that's before us.
Yeah, Yanni?
Thank you. Can I say, endorse what's just been said, and just two other points that I think is really important to note is without approval for the concept, it makes it really hard for the group to raise external funding.
Yeah.
We've put some funding in, but actually they're also trying to raise a significant amount of money. And I know it's great to hear lotteries supporting projects in our city, but I know to them, the funding bodies having certainty, the concept plan being approved is really important. The second point is that you'll note in the report there's also a study going on around water sports, which should be available in the next few months. And you would think that, especially areas where there is high activity for water sports, that result of that study should be able to feed into some of the detailed design as well. So it just kind of makes sense to leave the options open and to work through based on the information that we get back. We've heard in the submissions, debate or discussion around the number of times that this site's used, who uses the sea up from summer back into the city and hopefully to the central city one day. And it's interesting to reflect on this versus the New Brighton legacy project ideas that we've heard this morning as well. And you know, you can see how important it is for communities to be able to see out of the disaster this opportunity for transformation, for projects that actually leave the city in a better place than it was previously. For the 7 or 6 years I've been on the community board and the first few years as a councillor, we've been spending 8 years waiting for a master plan from the city to the sea along the coastal edge. We're now finally starting to see it. So it's amazing opportunity, amazing to see this action actually happening, and the community in general are very supportive of it, except for those, you know, areas where there's always a very different looks of it. So I really wholeheartedly endorse this, thank the community for the work that they've done, and look forward to this progressing.
David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just mindful of the fact that we seem to have had a degree of consultation, and staff have come to this point now, and we've heard earlier that there's a concern that along the coastal pathway there are very few places where you can actually, aquatic recreation can actually interface with the estuary. So I personally think that we've seemed to have gone down that path and come to a recommendation. So I'm having a little bit of difficulty. Solution. I believe that we've done the thing, and I suppose the question I'm asking now, if we go down this path, are the coastal pathway people and the aquatic recreation people happy to engage in further consultation, or are we just relitigating something that's already been discussed?
Paul?
Just respond to David. Look, they are happy to work together. They are actually working together. There is just a slight conflict on actually the outcome. All this is actually doing is allowing, when they do the detailed design, you've got to remember there's a concept plan. They haven't done the detailed design. In fact, it's going to be 3 years before they finish this area. So we just don't want to lose opportunities that we don't even know about yet. That's really what this is actually addressing, and I think it's important that we allow that small amount of latitude to take place for a better outcome for all of the community.
I'm probably just mindful of the fact of that very acute statement that I heard earlier on. We've got a 6.5 kilometre pathway, and this is virtually the only area that has direct access to the estuary itself. So in my mind, we have a pathway that for 6.3 kilometres of it is totally available for for all users to traverse the walkway, but we're only talking a 200 or 300 metre section at best that aquatic users can actually have a decent access to the estuary. So from that point of view, I'm really I'm going to vote against this motion. I think the needs of the aquatic people for a small portion of the walkway need to be accommodated.
I've certainly had my concerns allayed in that regard, because I must admit that I was a little confused by two groups that seemed to be saying something different, but it didn't quite match what the recommendation was, and the irony is that by voting against it, you'd actually be voting against what the sports people want. They want concept plan as set out in attachment 2 is what they want. What they don't want to do is to go through a renegotiation, and what I've heard is that isn't a renegotiation, it is the design on the specific areas, which means we don't close down conversations based on the aquatic, or the review of the users of the estuary and other information that may come to pass. There may be solutions that people come up with that actually people are comfortable with. We've heard that people feel any antagonism between the two groups. So I'm quite comfortable with it, but I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And the next item is the main